All right, everyone. Tonight we got GC versus Big Dick Damage. Say that 5 times fast. We got GC readied up. We're going to be going to Tomb of the Spider Queen. So this is the season opener. There's obviously a lot that'll happen based off of winning this match and losing this match. And okay, there we go. We're already off to the races for the very first match of this season for both of these teams. So Tomb of the Spider Queen is one of those maps that is is definitely reliant on rotations a lot more than some of the other maps. In comparison, Tomb of the Spider Queen is very small compared to things like Sky Temple, Cursed Hollow, and because it's so small, Wave Clear gives you a lot of advantage. Because of the fact that you create space, and if you create space, you can get turn-ins. And when you get the turn-ins, you get the web weavers, and you can fight alongside them. And as you continue like slowly snowballing up, you'll get more and more of an advantage. Now, if you don't actually close out the game soon enough, you'll wind up in a situation where you can drag the game on and on because the web weavers aren't strong enough to generally end the game for you. You generally need a situation where there's multiple web weavers getting pushed in simultaneously and you're pushing on the core alongside of them. Because as it progresses the game, you generally outscale the web weavers significantly more and can clear them fairly quickly. So the draft so far, we had Zul and Zag banned out. And those are both very strong bands. Obviously, Zag has one of the highest win rates in competitive play right now. And without Zul being available on the table, that gives Sylvanas a huge advantage right now. So it's a very smart pickup by GC here. And they've opted to go with a Rhaegar and Kel'Thas to follow that up. That pretty much is a super solid starting point for anyone because now they can fill in as they deem necessary. They got the damage from KT, they got some damage from Sylve, they got the pushing power from Sylve. They can go double warrior, they can go warrior and extra support, they can go for another DPS. And all of those would be perfectly fine. Their comp is so open right now. There's nothing for them to worry about. On the other hand, we currently have Johanna and Esmeralda picked up. Now, this is a classic combo of building up those dunk stacks. And Johanna is going to really, really help Esmeralda pick up those stacks. And if they pick up those stacks, they could be melting Team GC. Now, it's going to be hard because Sylvanas is going to do a load of work. I mean, she's going to outpush Big Dick Damage at this point in time. Kel'Thas, Sylvanas, and Rhaegar's Lightning Shield, that'll be the end of the wave. Now, that's not to say Big Dick Damage is not going to be able to supplement their lineup here. They can still pick up multiple other heroes. They can pick up Sonya, Thrall. Sonya has lost a lot of popularity recently in NA. She didn't do too hot over at PAX. I was only seen a few times. Thrall him was also not doing too hot, but he's still a good laner. You still need someone to go solo bot lane. And right now, there is no solo bot laner for GC. You're not going to put Sylvanas down bottom. If you put Sylvanas down bottom, you're wasting Sylvanas. If you're putting Kel'Thas down bottom, expect him to probably lose if Big Dick Damage decides to pick up someone like a Thrall to win that lane. So Big Dick Damage has taken a lot of time thinking about what they want to do. They ran down the time. They banned out ETC, which is a pretty good ban, especially if they don't want to pick up too many counters for him. So they are picking up that Thrall, who will go and could have countered an ETC Mosh. In fact, I would have said the ETC ban is probably not necessary, especially when Rhaegar was already picked up. So there's no Divine Shield Mosh setup that was going to happen there. And Greymane was the follow-up response by GC. Their ban there is very, very solid. Greymane had something like a 60% win rate over at PAX. Additionally, he just did extremely well. I mean, we're talking about a hero that was just nerfed, and he still had a 60% win rate, which is crazy. We did see a combination of both normal builds and the old Q cocktail builds. So Muradin getting picked up. I mean, he's a top tier tank, regardless of his changes. And right now, Big Dick Damage doesn't really have burst. So they're going to rely on either Asmodon poking, Thrall poking, and then the combination of Thrall coming in and finishing someone off. Right now, I'm not really a fan overall of Big Dick Damage's comp. It's a comp that relies on Asmodon to do a ton of damage. So if they can make it to late game, which I don't think they will, based off of GC's current comp, they could win this. Because Asmodon is going to have to be their mage, essentially, with his dunks. And if he is not their mage because he doesn't get enough stacks, Big Dick Damage is not going to be busting out, the magnum damage onto GC. So the last pick is actually going to be Sonya. So I'm assuming Sonya was their pickup here specifically to counter Thrall. And now that Thrall has been put in play and Sonya has been put in play, we'll see better wave clear from GC. Sonya is better wave clear than Thrall. Thrall is just a poke machine. I mean, Chain Lightnings, that's all he needs to pretty much win. And so we're going to follow it up with the final pickup of Raynor. Raynor is going to give them even more sustained damage. Thrall, Raynor, and the combo of the two should just be able to put out a ton of damage from afar, and very safely too, with the Qs from Thrall and the extra 20% range from Raynor. Now, like I said, I really don't feel like Big Dick Damage's draft will be able to last long enough to beat GC. But if they play their cards right and they don't get picked off, I think they can scale into the late game and potentially win this. So we clearly had two very different styles of draft that just came out. Big Dick Damage went all in on Asmodon. They believe in Asmodon and that he can carry them. He can bring that death and destruction from his dunks and basically scare out the entire backline, because we should expect Kael'thas, Rhaegar, and Sylvanas to be sitting pretty safely in the back. And when those Qs come out, it's going to just wreak havoc on the backlines. Now, the other thing is Sonya provides additional pressure onto Asmodon. But Brightwing is a pretty good counter for Sonya. I mean, if she whirlwinds, you polymorph, and there's no one else you're really going to polymorph when they come on in. You can save it against Muradin, but it's not really worth it. So we are about to jump in to the very first game of this season. Everyone's loaded on up, readied on up, and now we're actually starting it up. So like I said, my prediction is for GC. I just feel their comp has everything that they could want. They got a mage, they got the wave clear, they have the heals. A Brightwing may help with the Kael'thas living bombs because of the AoE healing, but I feel like the burst, Brightwing won't really be able to handle that. When Sonya comes in with Wrath of the Berserker and Kael'thas comes in with those Qs and bombs, it's going to just blow people away before she can really support them. All right. So for Big Dick Damage, we got Apocalypse on Thrall. We got Jason86 on Raynor. We got Kronos on Brightwing. Shiny Spoons on Asmodon. And we got Chewy Sun on Johanna with that nice Spellbreaker shield skin. And finally, for GC, we got Catalyst on Kael'thas, Unstoppable on Sonya, Carpi 216 on Rhaegar, Soylent on Sylvanas, and finally Yon on Murden. So we're going to see some posturing for the what I like to call footsie battle, playing some footsies in the beginning of the game. So nothing really drastic is going to happen here. So pulling up the beginning talents, I don't believe we'll see anything too crazy. We're going to see the Reverb, Confection, Wolf Run, Paralysis, and Warpaint. So really nothing out of the ordinary at this point yet. So Yon is taking a lot of damage, but he is murdering. But he's getting very low there. He just manages to avoid the Q from Raynor, survives, and his passive trait there is going to really help him. I mean, Shiny Spoons is going very, very deep there. I don't know if he'll be able to make it out now. He may cost his team dearly there. And Chewy-san just barely surviving along with Shiny Spoons. We're looking at 50 HP there. They do manage to pick up Azmodan at the very final tick over there. And that will be the first kill of the game going over to GC. I'm not quite sure what Shiny Spoons was doing there. He went really, really way too far forward. I mean, he's Azmodan. Especially early game, the entire point is for him to just get the stacks. That's all he needs to be concerned about. Get stacks, get stacks, get stacks. So I'm going to double check. He did take Taste for Blood. We are saying Rolling Thunder, Unfurling Spray, and finally Seasoned Marksman. This is the best map possible for stacking talents like Seasoned Marksman. So it makes a lot of sense. He's not going to be playing safe. They need that extra damage, I feel. So it's a smart move. Unfortunately, those bombs just keep spreading. I mean, Kronos is hugging onto his fellow teammates, saying, "Come here. I just want to spread some bombs to you." Everyone needs some bombs in their life. So we got the rotation coming on down from Catalyst, but nothing's really happening right now. Apocalypse getting very aggressive, coming on in a 2v1 situation, essentially, but Kronos has rotated down and is currently supporting Apocalypse. We do have Yon, though, coming on down, but on top, Chewy-san is going to have to back on out, taking all that damage. However, the wave has been pushed in. XP is pretty much dead even. We do have Yon coming on in. Jason might get picked up here. There comes the KT damage, the follow-up stun, and Jason is just managing to survive from that adrenaline rush. So level 4 has now been hit. We're going to be seeing Feral Heart being popped up there. We're going to see the Thunderburn as well. We're going to see Hurricane here. That's a very interesting choice. You don't see that very often. Especially in the situation where there's a Johanna who can interrupt her Whirlwind, Kronos who can just interrupt as well with that Polymorph, and we're also going to see Lost Soul along with Manitap. So we're not going to see Catalyst having to go back nearly as much, but he will still, obviously, at a certain point, since he's going to go through that mana still pretty quickly. We're going to see Amplified Healing coming on out, Ride the Lightning, Gluttony, Manic, Pixie, and finally Focus Attack. Nothing too out of the ordinary. However, Apocalypse is just managing to barely survive from the rotation of GC. He will have to fully back here, and someone on the other team will need to rotate up, or rotate down to be more precise, to manage to keep that soak. We do have Kronos coming on in. He has to still play safely, Apocalypse. Okay, so now he is fully backing, and like I said, the wave clear right now is definitely in the advantage of GC. They have Soylent here who's going to just outpush all day, and there's not a whole lot they can do. And currently the Azmodan, I don't believe he's getting that many stacks. I mean, let's see where he's at. He is currently only at 34 stacks, so he still has a ways to go there. The battle is pretty fierce right now. We got GC still keeping up the pressure in all the lanes, really. And interesting enough, there's been multiple rotations down, and nothing really happening on the side of Big Dick Damage. Blue has now gotten the Web Weavers, and they did have the gems necessary to do it, and because they've been playing more aggressively along with having better wave clear, they've been able to do exactly that. Push on in, push the waves out, create the space necessary to get a turn in, because there's no vision otherwise. And since they're playing a lot more aggressive, they're able to do these things, especially with Sylvanas. as you can see, Sylvanas is just taking down that tower because there's nothing they can do. So we do have a 4v4 going on right now. Unstoppable having to back out in there just a little bit. They are trying to push down this Wave Weaver before it comes and takes this fort. However, they are taking a lot of damage. And I mean, Chronos is free healing. They can just keep him alive all day. And rather than continuing to press the issue, they decided to rotate up to mid, which leaves Jason all alone. Yawn is getting very aggressive there, pushing on in. We got Chewy-san coming on in from the rear, but there's absolutely no one on his team there to help follow up. And this would actually be a potentially very easy kill. I mean, Chewy-san is getting very low. Unstoppable wants it. You can feel it. And Chewy-san taking the spider web wave. He is almost down, 130 HP, but he will survive. And that leaves top, which has been cleared by Jason86. This is a pretty bad situation right now for Big Dick Damage. They've lost the mid fort. They have no towers. And we got Thrall, who is about to be ganked here, and there is nothing he can do. Where's this? Ooh, Yawn missing the stun. A critical moment. And Unstoppable also missing his stun. And Apocalypse will just walk away, Q him, and just stand around waiting for the rest of his team to rotate down. However, in the meantime, we had Raynor get soloed by Catalyst. That's not what you want to be happening when you're down a level. And 10 is about to roll around at this point, and we're going to be seeing, we got Piercing Bolts coming on out, which is not as typical. You normally see Battle Momentum being picked up nowadays for Muradin. We had the Sun King's Fury, we had Phoenix, Cleanse, Ancestral Healing, Barb Shot, Wailing Arrow, Follow Through, and a Wrath of the Berserker. Nothing out of the ordinary there for Team GC. And finally, we got Blessed Momentum. This is kind of an odd choice, especially after the nerf to Blessed Momentum, not affecting any ults. But Chewy-san is in a very, very dangerous situation. Down comes the Phoenix to try to finish off Chewy-san, and that will not be enough. However, he has now been stunned, turning around to try to face GC, which was not the play to make there. That was either a misclick or a miscommunication on what they should do. When you have that little HP, there's pretty much nothing you can attempt to do, especially when the other team is pretty much full HP. So Blessed Momentum is a bit of an odd choice nowadays, and with this, they'll be able to get themselves another turn in. So GC's playing this pretty much perfectly as I expected. Their comp is just significantly better for this map, and they're not getting enough stacks. They didn't focus on the critical aspect of stack, stack, stack. If you're going for an Azmodan build or Azmodan comp, you need to stack, 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 and that's all you need to do. And if you don't do it, well, you're not going to win this. Additionally, we had March of Sin coming on up, Mystified, and a Revolution Overdrive. Nothing crazy out of those. And finally, 10 has now been picked up by Big Dick Damage. So whether they can turn this around or not, we'll see. We will get Blackpool, the Blessed Shield, and the Sundering. There comes the Sundering, and down goes the aggression from Big Dick Damage. They want to slap him silly right now, but Chewy-san will be the first member of Big Dick Damage going down, and he is instead going to be feeling the slap. And the Ancestral Healing does not connect in time, but Unstoppable is also really low. This is the time for them to turn around. There comes the Q and a whiff. Nothing from Shiny Spoons there. If he had connected, Unstoppable may have actually died there. The Ancestral Healing coming out way too late from GC, and I was actually surprised by the aggression on the part of Big Dick Damage, but they managed to secure themselves a kill. And when you're the underdog and you're underleveled, a trade 1-for-1 is always in your favor because it'll catch you up significantly faster. So let's take a look at Azmodan's current stacks here. We got him at 108 at about 9.5 minutes in. So they're really gonna have to play for the end game here. So they only have 18 gems at this point. 18 gems is not going to be enough to do anything significant, but this is potentially the opportunity for Big Dick Damage to get a turn of their own. However, they are going to be spotted out here. And we will get our next big team fight. They are down to talent, so this could go very, very rough for Big Dick Damage. And Apocalypse is eating a ton of damage right now, as is Kronos. Kronos is almost going to be going down here. Is super low. There comes the Sunder to save him. But the silence coming on out is not enough yet to finish off Kronos. But that is perfectly okay because the rest of Big Dick Damage is going down while Kronos has to run for his life. This will now be a keep for GC, the very first keep of the game, and with that, there's going to be a big uphill battle for Big Dick Damage at this point. They don't have enough stacks on Azmodan to really scare GC. GC has just outpushed, won the team fights, and there's pretty much nothing happening on the part of Big Dick Damage to change the situation around. Their one opportunity was to chase him down and secure a second, if not a third kill, when they were bottom lane. But because they've pushed out these lanes so far, that means that they basically have full map control. They can do whatever they want. And you can see with the waves pushed all the way in, they are going to make the play of going for the boss. This is a little bit risky because, well, if you're the other team, you should hopefully know what's going on here. When you don't see them on the map, you have two options. You can either be getting mercs, because they could have been stealing their mercs, but instead they're going to turn in and they're still missing 2 gems. This is very bad news. Like, this is the worst situation possible for them. They didn't get the turn in, they gave them the boss, and now they have to defend. And Azmodan is bottom instead of defending the boss. This is going to be another keep for GC. It's very likely that this could be a game at this point. We're going to see Healing Static, Vision Bomb, Earth Shield, Wind Runner, and Life Funnel. Additionally, we're going to have a Subdue, which is not very commonly seen. Hellforged Armor. There comes the Sunder coming on in very nicely down for Apocalypse. The Apocalypse is going on down. Chewie-san is melting, and Kronos is going to be the final member getting dropped here from Big Dick Damage. But Jason coming on in, securing them a second kill, which is going to even it up. They do lose the keep, and they are getting their shields currently melted. But this should be enough to help them defend. They did manage to actually get the turn in. Someone sneaked that in while they were defending the boss. So the only good news is that this pushes the waves back slightly. This gives them a little breathing room to try and get back into the running. But they are currently 2 keeps down. This is essentially the worst situation that you can have, is being keeps down and trying to play a late game comp. Because even if you win the fight, you may need to actually defend your core anyways because of the catapults that are marching onto it. So the other talents that we saw, we're actually going to see Spell Shields coming on out from Thrall, which is a pretty solid choice here given the situation with Kel'Thas. Additionally, we're going to see Shield Dust and Giant Killer. So Giant Killer is a good pickup, especially with the double warrior setup, and Big Dick Damage is being quite aggressive right now. Unfortunately, their aggression is focused on Muradin right now, so they're burning through abilities, but Catalyst is coming on in, and they're looking for a fight right now. GC, there comes the Living Bombs, and they are running. Kronos is about to spread them. Nicely done to avoid spreading it, but Jason is in a world of pain. There comes the Silence, and there is not a whole lot they can do right now. There comes the Sunder to try and disengage the situation, but that is not going to be enough. Apocalypse going down, Jason is about to go down, and that leaves 3 members down for Big Dick Damage. This could easily be game. We got Soylent, who is fairly low. There comes the Polymorph. This could actually be a little bit of a counter throw if they can manage to take down multiple members of GC. But I don't see that happening at this point. The shield is down. Harpy is keeping everyone up. There comes the Ancestral Heal. And this is GG. There is pretty much nothing that will happen at this point to change this game unless a God Q comes out and they all grouped up, which is possible, but unfortunately never a reality. Very nicely done from GC. Unfortunately, the strategy of playing a late game comp did not pay off for Big Dick Damage. And so the win of the night goes to GC. And it was a very convincing win. I mean, the closest DPS they had on their team was Raynor, 33.4k. I mean, Catalyst pretty much put out twice as much damage as Raynor. And Azmodan barely getting up to the damage levels that he needs. I mean, Azmodan needs to be hitting Sylvanas levels of DPS at the very least. Additionally, that leaves the rest of their team obviously pretty low in the DPS category. I mean, Sonya alone out DPS'd Azmodan and Thrall. So Big Dick Damage really couldn't win in just a DPS battle. Very nicely done from GC. And like I said, beginning of the game, their draft was just very solid. They had everything they needed to win. They had laning pressure, they had damage, they had the heals, and Big Dick Damage's comp just couldn't pull through, especially when they didn't get enough stacks for Azmodan to like really carry them through the game. There were also a couple of misplays that happened where unfortunately some extra deaths that probably didn't need to happen. So going over the talents really quick, everything about this is pretty standard. Piercing Bolt isn't picked up that often anymore. Additionally, you don't see Stone Form picked up that often anymore. And the reason being is that the healing static combo with Avatar and with Thunderburn, well, both of them combine to give you a significant amount of healing without requiring Stone Form. So most people give them the axe, and there's also I believe Heavy Toss, which is more popular or just as popular as Give Them the Axe, especially in Korea, since it adds another stun into the arsenal of Muradin, and another stun is pretty big, even though it's a very short stun. I'm not really a Kel'Thas player. Q build is seeing a lot more action, so it's interesting that we saw a combination of Sun King's Fury, Vision Bomb, and Fury of the Sunwell, a mix and match, if you will. Finally, the Rhaegar build is pretty much standard. Feral Heart. It has a couple other choices in place, as does Wolf Run. And finally, Earthgrasp Totem. Unfortunately, totems were nerfed, so Earthgrasp Totem is still probably the best choice here. It just sucks that like all choices are equally bad at 16 for Rhaegar. Finally, we had pretty standard build coming out here from Sylvanas, Paralysis, Lost Soul, the Barb Shot, Wailing Arrow, Windrunner, and Cold Embrace. And finally, Sonya, a little bit different. The Hurricane build gives her the ability to escape the root of Thrall, which was probably why she picked it up. But there's only one root in the game, which was Thrall. Additionally, she did pick up Life Funnel, which if you're able to pull off a full whirlwind, Life Funnel is just insane. You just become pretty much unstoppable. And finally, the Nerves of Steel, which is pretty standard. So the only weird talents here, Blessed Momentum isn't picked up as often anymore. You generally see Conviction picked up. The additional speed increase allows you to engage people who are running away and allows you to escape. And finally, Subdue. Subdue is a good choice if you have people who cannot actually run from you. But you don't see this very often as the pickup for 13. Not that this is terrible. I generally feel most of Johanna's talents are on the mediocre side, which is just a bad design of the hero. I mean, that's why they're taking Night Takes Pawn and they're integrating Night Takes Pawn into her base ability because everyone takes it. And when everyone takes a talent, you either need to buff up the other talents and or nerf a talent or make it integrated into their kit or even rework them. Yeah, if you're playing a comp that you've never played before, it's definitely hard, especially the coordination related for Asmodon. I mean, he requires essentially a buddy. Asmodon is a buddy system hero where you pick up Johanna, and they nerfed the stacking where it was 2 seconds for it to count as your stack for the death to 1.5 seconds again, or 1 second. I think it's 1.5, which increased the difficulty a lot more than it needed to be, for no good reason. I mean, Asmodon is not pretty much seen ever in competitive scene, so like nerfing it was pretty dumb on Blizzard's part. But it was still basically the way the Asmodon comp has to work is that you rotate as forward, keep getting Asmodon stacks, and your bottom laner, in this case Thrall, has to play safe, and his entire goal is to just clear the wave when it comes to him and prevent whoever he's laning against from pressuring the towers as much as he can, while Asmodon just keeps stacking and stacking. And so once you hit 10, you can actually fight. It's like avoid fights at all costs until Asmodon actually gets his black pool to buff up his Q. And then at that point, he should hopefully be able to Q an entire wave himself with no help, or shortly no help. That's really how it has to go in order for Asmodon to be effective. The build coming out from Thrall is pretty standard nowadays. Spell Shield was a pretty good choice because of the extra damage coming out from Kel'Thas. Unfortunately, there's no one really else who's pumping out the ability damage like Kel'Thas, but he definitely needed it, so it's a good pickup there. Then Asmodon went Taste for Blood. We got the March talents coming up combined with the Q, and finally we had Hellforged armor. And so this is good if you're actually trying to really push out lanes. Unfortunately, like when you're so far back, it doesn't really matter too much. You're in desperation mode, especially with keeps down. The build coming out from Brightwing was pretty standard as well. Some extra healing from Manic Pixie. A lot of choices over there that you'll see. The Mist and the Shield build are both still alive and well. You'll see double support often. Brightwing will pick up the shield while someone else will pick up essentially the healing. So Brightwing can come, drop a shield on someone, and then the second support will actually provide the healing while Brightwing is getting his phase shift cooldown reduced, so he can pump out another big shield. And then finally, Shield Us, Blink Heal was picked up here. Nothing crazy. These were all good choices. And finally, for Raynor, we had the Seasoned Marksman, Focus Attack, Revolution Overdrive, Hyperion, and Giant Killer. Jason did a lot of work, or did as much work as possible. He picked up one of those extra kills. As you can see, he was top DPS for his team. Unfortunately, they didn't have a mage, which definitely hurt big dick damage. Something like a Jaina would have been probably preferable to a Raynor. And the reason for that is, well, Jaina has better wave clear. She would help Asmodon a lot more clear those waves. And if you already picked up Thrall, you pretty much get exactly that. Well, sorry, you already get the sustained poke damage, and you already have someone to do bot lane. So you might as well pick up someone like Jaina to fill in for your burst, or even Li Ming. So there's your game. GC are the winners. Great draft coming out from them. Unfortunately, big dick damage played a comp that they weren't practiced or well versed in either, since they said they never played that comp before. So it's definitely a risky maneuver to play a comp you don't know or haven't played. So unfortunately, that's what happened. I don't know if I would take that risk personally. I probably would put that off for a scrim or just team league. Do the crazy stuff where it doesn't matter nearly as much. thanks again, everyone who's been watching. I hope you will join me in future casts.